We have reached the end of our presentations, and I would like to call here the chairman of the SIF board, Honorable Bernard Georges, for his concluding remarks.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for a really wow day. You're absolutely right, Dr. Fleischer-Dogley. This has really been a wow day. You know, I wanted to be a botanist, believe it or not. That was my chosen pathway. And at the age of about 14 or 15 in a biology lesson at school, we were studying the cockroach. And into the lesson, I heard the teacher mention animals. And I said, well, hang on a minute. Is the cockroach an animal? And he looked at me as if I'd just come down from Mars. And he said, well, I wouldn't call it a plant, would you? And that's when, at the age of 15, I realized that botany perhaps was not where I should be going. If I hadn't by then worked out that, broadly speaking, the biological world was made up of plants and animals, perhaps I should go somewhere else. And I went to law and politics instead, which is why I feel a bit of a cheat today, standing here and making these concluding remarks after what has been a most amazing day, where I think we all agree we learned an awful lot. And in fact, this is what makes chairing the SIF such a wonderful thing. I hadn't planned to be the chairman of the SIF. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I was going to be asked to chair such a wonderful institution. But here I am, giving you some concluding remarks this afternoon. And I'd like to, first of all, thank all the speakers who have, each one of you, been absolutely outstanding. Can we have a round of applause for them, please? You know, you come to these places, or at least I come to these places, totally devoid of any scientific knowledge. I mean, I know what a coco de Mai looks like, and I knew a few things about it, and I know it comes from the Vallée de Mai, and so does the black parrot. But the incredible thing, and I think the one thing that we take away today, is that the Vallée de Mai is really not just a tourism trap. It's not just a place for tourists to come and visit, which is what we think of when we think of the Vallée de Mai, where there are just two iconic species, you know, the coco de Mai and the black parrot, but that in fact there is so much more to it. In fact, we've learned today about frogs and chameleons and you know, the myriad other organisms that live in that wonderful 19.5 acres of land on one of our islands. And I think this is the joy of living in Seychelles. This is the joy of having so many wonderful people engaged in science, but also in the management of such a wonderful place, which is the Vallée de Mai. And as well as thanking all of the speakers today, I would also like us to give a round of applause to everybody who has been involved in running and managing the Vallée de Mai over all those years, many of whom were here with us today, some of whom are standing by the door waiting for their lift back to Praslin or wherever. Can we have a round of applause to thank them, please? And the next thing that I'd like to say this afternoon is how wonderful it is to see so many young people interested and involved in the Vallée de Mai. Both here, there were school children with us earlier, but also on screen. So many engaged people, and I think this is where the future not only of the SIF, not only of the Vallée de Mai, but of Seychelles, and dare I say it, of the conservation world lies, because those young people who are engaged today and who will become engaged and who will be able to tell by the age of 14 or 15 a difference between a plant and an animal are the future of our country and of our world. And I think if this symposium has done one thing today, it's done many things, but if it's done one thing, it is to have engaged so many people on so many levels about such a wonderful institution, or such a wonderful institution which is the SIF, and such a wonderful reserve which is the Vallée de Mai. You know, the Vallée de Mai has all the time played second fiddle to Aldabra in the minds of people. Whenever you think of the SIF, let's face it, you think Aldabra. Big atoll, miles away, so few people visit it. The Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, all of those wonderful attributes. The Vallée de Mai is great. Yeah, but it's there. It's a small thing. It's got the black parrot, fine. It's got the coco de mer. But Aldabra is really the jewel in the crown. No longer. No longer. Today, I think, has shown us that Aldabra and the Vallée de Mai can stand shoulder to shoulder in the emporium that is the Seychelles Islands Foundation. And I think if this symposium has succeeded on another level, it is to bring home to everybody who were here, everybody listening virtually, and those people who will follow us on the news and in the days to come and who will read about this symposium, that the Vallée de Mai is no longer the poor cousin of Aldabra, but it is as iconic a site as the atoll of Aldabra is. And for that, I would like to thank all the presenters today, because they have served to bring this point absolutely home to all of us. And I am so pleased that after it has been in the doldrums for so long, after it has played second fiddle to Aldabra, the Vallée de Mai can today justifiably raise its head proudly and say, we are half, or at least now a third, with Fonds Ferdinand, of the Seychelles Islands Foundation. And with Aldabra, the Vallée de Mai can stand shoulder to shoulder. But that's not all. All is not good. As we have heard, there are threats to the Vallée de Mai, and we must always be conscious of those threats. If we've eliminated, or looks like we're on the path to eliminate the yellow crazy ants, and if we are well on the way to eliminating some vegetative, botanical invasive species, there are other threats that remain. And as we heard from one of our early presenters, in fact, the very first presenter, fire remains one of the major hazards that the Vallée de Mai faces, and which it always will face. We know from what we've been told today and from our own observations that Curieuses, for instance, which would have been at one point as rich and as biodiverse as the Vallée de Mai is today but a very poor reflection of what it once was. And a lot of Pralin, the Île de Palme of 250, 300 years ago, is today, except for some small patches of which the Vallée de Mai is one, a fairly barren island. And you can imagine the threat to the Vallée de Mai that a catastrophic fire could bring. So as we leave here today, I would like us to think about not only the wonderful things that we have heard, although they have really been richly rewarding and absolutely wonderful, but also of the possible threats that always will remain with us, so that as we reflect on a day well spent and a symposium well received, we will continue to balance those two things in our minds and in our daily lives. The threat on one side, but the absolute scientific wonder and botanical marvel and biological marvel that is the Vallée de Mai. So everyone, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the management of the SIF, and on behalf of a grateful nation, I would like to extend our deep appreciation to all of you who have come here today, all of you who worked tirelessly at the Vallée de Mai, all of the presenters, and everybody who directly or indirectly helped to make the Vallée de Mai such a treasure that, that we're so proud to have. Thank you all. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, CEO, for having organized this with your team. Thank you, everyone. I go away absolutely happy, and I hope you do too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable George, for your kind words and great reflections. So we are reaching the end of the 40th UNESCO Anniversary Celebration Research Symposium. But before we close, we would like to extend our appreciation to all our partners and individuals who have made the day a success. Thanks are extended to all of our sponsors, Savoy Seychelles, 7 Degrees South, Mason's Travels, Cable and Wireless, and CEM Enterprise. A special thanks is needed for the Research Symposium Committee, who have made extra efforts to ensure that the symposium is a success, as it was today. The Seychelles Islands Foundation is particularly grateful to all of the speakers, the ones who traveled from afar, as well as our local and online speakers. Without your work and research by you and your colleagues, we would not be able to celebrate such a symposium, and none of us would be here today. Thank you for your contributions, your findings and information, and sharing your experience with us today. So I would like to invite all the remaining speakers to come forward as we take a group photo and present you with a token of our appreciation. Dr. Constance, Professor Edwards, Dr. Emma Morgan, Dr. Jim Labisco, and Ms. Lauren Cook. Dr. Dokle, can you help with the presentation? Thank you. Another round of applause for all of our speakers. Finally, thank you very much. Thank you to every single individual who has stayed with us till this point on. It is very, very much appreciated. They have left us, but I will still mention a very special thanks to the Pralic community and representatives of all the stakeholders. Let's have another round of applause for every single individual who have partnered with us today. All right, we have reached the end. We now welcome you to the lounge area to have a final view of our exhibition, to view our 40th anniversary merchandise, to share a cup of tea, and also discuss the latest findings of research that we've presented today. Thank you very much.